is Aeternum Radio, broadcasting from the peaks of Shattered Mountain to the New World.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Aeternum Radio. I am Slacker, joined with my two co-hosts, BigPapa.
Howdy.
And Ruko.
Hey everybody.
Welcome back after an extended leave of absence. BigPapa, congratulations.
Well, thank you for, I worked really hard to get this baby here, and now he's here.
You did all the work.
I did
all the work.
All 5 minutes of work. Yeah. No, my
Good
wife's
for you.
awesome. She's awesome. She pushed that kid out in 3 pushes. So it was a good.
No kidding.
Yeah, she does pretty good at that.
Your wife is a champ.
And you got a new job, so your life has just completely changed.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's been a good 2 week break that we had. 1 week break, I can't remember, but
We took 1 week off, I think.
Yeah. It's been busy.
I gotta tell you, we mentioned earlier, we were saying, oh man, I guess it's kind of a okay thing that it got pushed back because, that New World got pushed back a bit because, hey, we need the extra time. We still have 10 days until its first release date.
Yeah.
If you give me 10 more days and I'll have settled into my new home and I gotta wait forever.
That's just another month. You'll be okay. I'm sure you'll have something to fill the time with.
The good news is that we are likely going to be having some special guests come onto the show over the next couple of weeks. We've been talking with a couple of other content creators. And so hopefully we'll be able to do some fun stuff for that extra month of content that we're going to be filling out. So,
Well, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down and was like, man, I wish I could be playing New World right now. There's nothing else I want to play.
Dude, me too. All the other games are just filler games until I can get, it's such a fun. And I don't even know if I want them to do another open beta because then I'm going to have to wipe again.
Well, I believe they said
let us have the game.
I believe they said they are not going to do another beta. It's for sure.
Yeah,
I read
as well.
that somewhere. So
I think it was in a reply to a tweet.
Yeah,
okay, wow.
I honestly I'm fine with that. I don't know how much I would play a second open beta anyway, just because I mean the point of the first open beta, I wanted to get my feet wet and see how it was, and then I knew everything was going to get deleted and restarted, so I didn't feel particularly motivated to go all out.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Well, yeah, after the first week, I was kind of done. I was like, there's a few other things I wanted to try, but yeah, I didn't want to get too far into it without, because of the reset. Yeah, no.
Right.
Well, again, I'll just say, I think I said this in a previous episode, though, if they did do another closed beta, which they won't, but if they did, I would like a end-level character to go try some of the endgame content. We didn't touch
I
that.
agree with that.
We didn't even scratch the surface of that. Going to places like Shattered Mountain and Eden Grove, and heck, we didn't even go to Reekwater, we just started venturing into Cutlass Keys, so there's still a lot of content that we haven't scratched, and I'm hoping that gets as well tuned and bug fixes as all the early game content.
I hope so, but it's doubtful. As someone who works in QA, they haven't tested enough with the entire in their beta, right? I'm sure very few people got to that end game content, so I'm sure there's going to be some bugs once people start hitting end game on live. So we'll have to probably be patient with that. But overall, I mean, I felt like the beta was solid in general. Nothing game breaking, at least not for me. So
The mechanics were solid. It was just buggy.
The worst bug was the bug where things weren't respawning in certain areas, and that was it. I mean, that was the worst one because then you couldn't.
And the ghost trees.
Oh,
and the ghost trees was minor. That was just more hilarious because you'd be like, "What? Oh no, I'm rubber banding," but it was a ghost tree.
No, I saw lots of tweets about the sheep not respawning or whatever. Right? Where can I find sheep? And
or on the main quest, there's that. There on the main quest, there's a specific boss that you have to kill. And everyone had stacked on the boss to try and get credit for the kill. And you have to do so much damage to get credit for the kill. And so when it finally spawns and 40 different people are all trying to hit it to get credit for the kill, nobody can get it because no one's dealing enough damage to get credit for the kill.
Because it dies too fast.
Everyone's just standing there. And I was like, when that happened, I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to come back, like, because I'm working from home right now. I'm just going to log on for 10 minutes and go kill that boss and then come back that evening. And that worked out like a charm. So, okay, we're going to get back on topic. So you can listen to this we're going back to my introduction because we've just dove right in. I just wanted to say a few extra things.
Sorry, go ahead.
You can listen to this podcast by watching us live on Twitch at the Slacker Project or by joining us on Discord. We have a community there, and we actually have a recording room where you can actually sit in and listen. If you do join us live, you're able to ask. We have Q&As. We also get additional thoughts. You get the unedited version of the podcast, all that fun stuff. And Aeternum Radio is available wherever podcasts can be heard. So if you want to listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, even on YouTube, we're available on all of those sources. And today we've actually got some pretty fun stuff that we want to talk to you about. And it's been a while since our last show, but that's because we wanted to make sure we got all three of us back together because this next topic is something that's going to just really light a fire underneath Ruko's ass, and we all wanted to be here for that. So we're going to go into the news. We're going to talk a little bit about what's happening. It's not much. Spoiler alert. We're going to talk our feature review today. We always do a feature review. Is going to be about perks, boosts, and bonuses. How you can kind of stack different attributes to really get the most out of your professions. It's kind of a system that's sort of not really talked about very often. It's very underneath the radar. We may talk a little bit, if time permitting, we may jump into Tales of Aeternum. We did the Amrine excavation during the beta, and we wanted an opportunity to talk about how we felt like that went. And then finally, we're going to dive into the meat of this episode, which is we want to talk about meta inside of an MMO. And we'll get to that last. So let's start back up at the top. Let's talk about the news coming surrounding New World. It has been delayed. Not again, but our current release date, as it is right now, is September 28th. We also are pretty sure we can confirm that there is not another beta coming. And we also know that there will not be any new content that's being added. The extension really was to clean up the game and make it a much more smooth launch process. These responses, though, were replies from tweets. They were not official announcements. So those are still subject to change. I know we had a discussion earlier in this podcast about all of these new features we really want to add. But alas, that is not the case.
And that's okay. I'm fine with them just fixing up the current problems and making sure we have a smooth launch. Because bad launches can easily ruin a game. So,
sure.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that as a reward for our patience, they're going to remove that Rainbow Kitty from the game.
Did they officially announce that, or is that?
I don't think. No, no one's announced that.
That's
an announcement from BigPapa.
I want that thing gone. It's so weird and out of place in the game. I don't know why they ever added it.
I'm curious if it's supposed to be part of an aesthetic for another zone that we never saw. Like maybe there's a zone that has a really intense jungle theme, and it's more like Pandora Planet, Blue People movie. Maybe one of the zones was like that, but as far as I'm aware, there's not. So
yeah, I don't think so.
Anyway, does Hello Kitty live there too? Is that?
She's actually the boss.
Wow. Okay.
You have to go to her island.
She's got her own dungeon.
Yeah.
Well,
did you guys ever? Way back in the day, but when YouTube first started becoming a thing, do you guys remember there used to be those cartoons, and they were kind of like kid cartoons, but then they actually did like really intense, gory stuff? Did you ever see those?
Are you talking about Happy Tree Friends?
Yeah, Happy Tree Friends. That's what
Happy
it's
Tree
called,
Friends. Yeah, I remember Happy Tree Friends.
Wow.
Oh, man.
Talk about
there's a
blast
zone
from the past
in
there.
New World that's like Happy Tree Friends. With
you get
Hello
Diablo
Kitty
3 with the secret level with all of the rainbow ponies and stuff that you run to and slaughter. Yeah.
See, here's the deal though. If I was a creator at Diablo 3 and I wasn't a part of Blizzard and we're making Diablo, that actually would be awesome as an Easter egg. To have like this hidden cavern and you go inside and it's the Happy Tree Friends and you're like, oh my gosh! That'd be such a
questioning
throwback.
whether you're tripping or not the whole time. Like, wait, what's going on?
Happy Tree Friends. Oh man, I hated that. Wow.
Oh, I loved it. I remember when I first
I'm
discovered
sure
it. I thought
you
it was
did.
hilarious. The my favorite one was when the moose was like trying to shave while driving.
The moose always died in the most gruesome way possible.
No, listen to this. He was shaving while driving. He obviously cut his artery, his artery in the neck. Crashes. He ends up with a tree pinned on his leg, and he's like looking around for something, to cut his leg, and all he finds is a spoon. So he's cutting his leg with a spoon. And at the end of the episode, he's like done. There's tears streaming down his eyes. He's like, he has to get through the bone. That's the hardest part. Finally, he's done, and he's like, all right. And then he looks down, and it was the wrong leg. Oh man.
I still have, there's one scene, this is so off topic, but there's this one scene that still haunts me to this day that I watched when I was a kid, where the bunny's trying to change a light bulb up in the ceiling, and it's one of those like free hanging ones. Oh, yeah. And the ladder underneath him cuts out, falls off. So he reaches up with his mouth to bite it, to like grab on.
Right, yeah.
So he like grabs onto it, and then it like shatters, and he's like got glass in his mouth, and that's just haunted me ever since I was a kid. I was like, blah, 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 blah. Ooh, this episode got gruesome pretty quick. Happy Tree Friends. I guess it was destined to go there.
Well, that was your fault. You were talking about gruesome cartoons.
A little nostalgia brought to you by Aeternum Radio.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. Let's talk about our featured review. Is there any other news we wanted to go over? I think we got it all. At the if you were interested in some more lore, New World has been releasing a few more like lore drops. So you can get in there and you can check out things like right now on the Twitch stream we're showing the Lost, and they went over the Angry Earth. They're kind of going over the villains and talking a little bit more about them in depth. So if you want to check that out, they're good watches. Nothing we haven't seen yet, but just nice to get a little taste of Aeternum while we wait. So let's talk about our feature review. Now, perks, boosts, and bonuses here is really a whole system that sort of, like I said earlier, is kind of flown under the radar, right? So you have a lot of different ways for you to bonus the way that you gather resources. Now, the main way that you gather more resources and you do it faster is by upgrading your tool, right? That's pretty straightforward. So you start the game, you're going to make a flint pickaxe, and it's terrible. It's a gear score of 100. It's got 100% gathering speed. And then as you start to tier up, then you go to the iron pickaxe, the steel pickaxe, and so on and so on. You can mine better stuff. You can mine faster. And that's all good. That's all gravy. Hey, that's fantastic. But there's a lot of other ways that you can utilize these crafting professions. And this goes for mining, leatherworking, gathering with the sickle, all these things. So there are a lot of different ways that you can also bonus your gathering professions. And I think a lot of these kind of went way over my head on during the beta. So, for example, when you're out there and you're opening up chests, you're doing missions, stuff like that, you're going to collect a variety of charms. And these charms or little trinkets, they can be put into a slot that you get when you're crafting something. So let's say you are crafting an iron hunting knife, right? When you craft that iron hunting knife, you have an option to drop a charm into the knife to give it a potential bonus. And I think a lot of people caught on to that. Great. So some of those are going to be like extra durability, a chance to find rare items when you're mining. And they're just small. They're minuscule, but these start stacking up over time. So the tool itself can have these perks. You can add these trinkets in. Your armor can potentially have these trinkets crafted in. Your bags can have these trinkets crafted in. So with your armor, you could get a 2 to 5% chance to find a rare item. And then you also get a 9% chance to find a rare item off of the perk on your tool. And suddenly these are starting to bonus pretty quickly.
So it is confirmed that they do stack, though. Is that correct? Because that was a question I had.
The bonuses should stack, yes.
The bonuses from the same charm.
I'm almost positive they could stack.
Yeah.
Well, it's not from the same charm, but you can get different charms. For example, like some of them are going to be like a little sigil and trinket, and then other ones is going to be like a lucky charm. They should be different items, but some of them are granting similar benefits.
Okay.
So the other ones that kind of go unnoticed are the more consumable focused ones, right? So you can eat food. Various food items will give you bonuses to luck that will increase. And you also can get potions that will bonus the amount of resources you gather. So, for example, the weak proficiency bonus is a tier 2 bonus. And I'm telling you, man, the more we do this podcast and the more I get involved with New World, the more I'm like, I've got to do alchemy when we get into the game. There's just so many great potions. So the first potion is increases the amount of resources you gather by 5% for 10 minutes. You hit the next tier, increase the amount of resources gathered by 7% for 15 minutes. And then that gets longer and a greater percentage the more you go, which is great. I really like that. Finally, you have these trophies that you can put in your house that will also give you bonus luck. The proficiency boosters are made with engineering, not arcana. Really, I just got that from our community here on Twitch, saying that now are you talking about those mining the potions? Because I think that I'm almost positive the potions are done with arcana, and in engineering you can make the various trinkets that you need to get the proficiency boosters. The potions that increase the yield. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can make those potions inside engineering. We'll have to look into that. We're going to have to double check that.
Okay.
Yeah, but regardless, man, you know what? Actually, I think I do remember that.
Well, yeah, I mean, either way, you're going to want these potions, though, and leveling up the appropriate profession to have them is going to be important.
Right. And then finally, of course, you have every so often as you bonus in your stats or your abilities, you'll also... the more stats you dump into strength, for example, they will also be giving you some benefits to your yield and to your bonuses, right? And so dexterity is for like leatherworking, strength is for mining, and so on and so on. So what I think is pretty nifty about this whole system, and I'm considering doing, like, let's say we hit end level, we're level 60, and we're working on, the content to get the gear that we want so that we're just the greatest Aeternum soldiers that ever walked the face of the earth. Maybe I build myself a set of gear that I actually wear out and about when I go gathering. And that gear specifically designed to increase my stats in gathering professions versus when I'm out just regular adventuring and I want to go do some PvP or whatever the case. Maybe we're trying to take a territory. I like that. I like the idea of having another armor set. Maybe it's in my bags. Maybe it's not. That's a cool system that I think is not really seen very often.
Well, not with gathering for sure. Yeah, you don't see that a lot in games. Or if you do see like a gathering bonus, it's maybe on like one item or maybe on like the item you're using to gather itself, right? It's something small, but certainly not an entire set, and certainly not with like lots of potions and these trophies and food and bonuses from your stats. You never see all of these things that you can utilize in order to be like peak efficiency. Usually it's just like, right. Yeah, I've got my one item, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go mining with my one item or whatever in another MMO. No, this, like, you can really set time and prepare to go out mining and be really, really efficient at it and come back with a huge load of goods. And the same applies to all of the gathering professions. You can kind of do the same thing around them. And I think that's awesome. With crafting being such a huge part of this game, especially at the end game where you can still craft this very viable end game gear, being efficient about going out and gathering materials to craft these things is going to be really important. And learning about all these different perks is just, it's really cool to see how I can speed up what you might think is maybe something a little more boring if you're not really big into gathering. You can be efficient at this and still, I think, go out and have a good time with it.
Yeah. My biggest concern with it, though, is I'm not a min-maxer player. I never have been. When I first started playing World of Warcraft, for example, sometimes I get a piece of gear. This is when I first started playing, so we're talking, 15 years ago. When I first would get a piece of gear, if it didn't match my armor set or looked really stupid, I was like, nah, I'll pass. I'll just wait for something else. I like the theme and the lore of an MMO more than I like trying to min-max my character so I can do the max amount of damage. And sometimes that bites me in the butt. Like when I came to do a raid and they're like, ooh, dude, your damage isn't quite where it needs to be. It's because I've never really focused much on that aspect of the game.
Right.
But here I'm like, this is actually kind of interesting. And I like the idea of making a calculated effort to get these things, to build up these bonuses so I'm more effective at gathering. And that the way that New World works, I'm not going to be waiting for a random drop in a dungeon that I don't want to do so that I can get this one piece so that I get my 5% extra yield, now I can go do it. The way that New World is set up, I feel like that's something that I could work on as a side project.
Yeah,
as a side, I'm going to get these pieces that I need, I'm going to be looking for that, I'm going to trade for this. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's pretty darn cool. I like the way that it's set up. And it feels very attainable, and it feels like it would be very rewarding to get after.
Well, and not only that, like even if you don't maybe get a specific charm to craft with, with the player-driven economy, somebody's going to get it, or somebody's going to get two and want to sell one, right? They're not going to need two pickaxes, endgame pickaxes with extra yield on them, right? They're going to probably end up selling one. So I don't think it's going to be a problem to get any of these things, even if you don't want to necessarily dig into the professions to give you those bonuses. You can buy them off the auction house, right? Or from the market, I guess is what it is in New World. And then you can just, pop the potion, eat the food, go out and do your mining, right? And be more efficient. It's not going to take you a ton of extra time if you don't want it to, right? You can be efficient without having to put in a ton of work into it, I think. So.
Yeah, I think that's fair. BigPapa, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's interesting. I didn't realize how many options there were to, increase your proficiency in a specific gathering profession. I think it shows that they are really trying to make this a player-driven economy and something that focuses on player-made items, and I like that. I definitely like that. The one thing I'm not a fan of is I don't necessarily think I like that the gathering bonuses there's also gathering bonuses attached to attributes.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a fan of that. I like that, you get bonuses to your combat prowess from certain attributes, because that makes sense to me. But for example, I put heavy into dexterity when I was playing, and I was using a musket and a rapier, but I was by far mining more than anything. And it was and I didn't want to put into strength just to get mining bonuses. I would not do that, because I want to be efficient. I'd rather be efficient in combat with those attributes. So I don't know what else they could have attached those to, or how else they could have done it with the way they set it up. But that's the thing I'm not a fan of, is that the reason I was mining more than anything else was because I needed to make cartridges, and I needed to and that was that was the majority of my gathering was doing that. And then I was also collecting hemp, because I needed the linen and all that. But anyway, I don't think I'm a huge fan of that aspect, that these bonuses to gathering are attached to attributes as well.
I was gonna say, like, I do feel like, these are just still small bonuses in the grand scheme of things on the attributes. Just taking a look at like the pickaxe progression, like the very first pickaxe you're gathering at the regular 100% gathering speed, right? And by the time you move up to like a steel pickaxe, you're at 250% gathering speed. That's over twice as fast already than your basic pickaxe. Some of these mining bonuses are just 10% more mining speed, 10% more yield. I don't think it's going to be earth-shattering different if you don't want to put strength
that's
in.
True. And that's fair.
But,
and so it's not a big deal. It just irks me.
Yeah.
Because I don't want, because like I'm getting bonuses to skinning, and it's
Sure.
like I'm not I wasn't skinning. I did it just because I felt like I have the bonuses. Why not focus on skinning? And then I kind of realized, well, no, I need to be mining more for these cartridges.
Well, you're doing dexterity, right?
Yeah.
So, but some of these bonuses, like, let's look at like the required 300 points bonuses. This is the max end bonus you're going to get. So for strength, they have light and heavy attacks with melee weapons gain grit. Cool. 25% chance to fully mine an ore node with a single swing. It's exactly what you're talking about. If you're doing a lot of mining, you kind of want that one.
Yeah.
However,
that one does seem good.
The dexterity one, ammo has a 15% chance of being returned and guaranteed critical hit after a dodge roll. For you, I think those are much better than getting a single swing and knocking out of
Well, I agree.
That's pretty good.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like I'm going down the dexterity path, but I'm mining, right? Because I need to supply myself with cartridges, and all the mining bonuses that I get from attributes are attached to strength, not dexterity.
Sure.
So
But you
that's
do have
my
that
point.
cartridge bonus at the end game dexterity, at least, right? Where maybe you're not consuming a cartridge,
Right, and that's great.
Right?
But I'm just saying, like, I just don't. I don't think I like the fact that they're attached.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right, like I'd rather it be attached to whatever I'm working on. If I'm mining and I'm leveling up my mining skill, why won't they attach attributes to that skill as I get better at mining?
Okay, put
Right?
put a gem in so that your
There you go.
your musket scales off of strength. Okay, and then you.
But then you're
going.
You guys are like trying to
see-
convince me that it's okay. It's just
I know,
it's just
well,
a
you're
negative
just bringing up
opinion.
the
That's all.
I just think it's it's just another thing of making a choice. There's bonuses with making a choice. If you're planning to play a strength build, this is just another bonus because you're playing strength, right? You're going to get bonuses even if you're not skinning as much right now, or you didn't skin as much in the beta. I feel like skinning is still going to be very important in the main game, and that's still going to help you out. I understand you want the mining bonus
And
more
if I
than the skinning bonus.
if
right?
I work on my skinning, then I would like the bonuses to come from leveling up my skinning, not from leveling up dexterity.
and
I
it
get
will, right?
Yeah.
And other than the attributes, you can gain all of the other perks and bonuses for mining, right?
In the end, it's a minor thing, but it's just it's just my complaint. This is my complaint about it.
You have your right to your opinion, even if it's wrong. Okay. So
Well, it's just in the course of this conversation, I think I've really started to side with BigPapa on this one because some of those bonuses are going to stack up. And so what? Am I supposed to have my musket bonus off of, put that trinket in where it now bonuses off of strength? Well, now I've just lost a trinket slot. And we've just discussed how there's some really good stuff to put inside those trinket slots. So it really is a missed opportunity. And I do like the point that he makes as well of saying, hey, if I want my bonuses to come from skinning, if I'm doing skinning, I agree. I agree. I mean, you're going to go down the strength. Sorry, the dex tree, and you're going to get these bonuses: 20% haste for 3 seconds after skinning. Great, you're not going to use that. 10% decrease in weight of skinned items. Great, you're never going to be a ton of skinned items. 10% skinning speed. Great, you're not even going to notice that.
You guys say
like,
this,
that
but
is going to kind of suck.
Skinning was my most used skill in the beta. I don't know what
but
you guys
it wasn't BigPapa's.
Well, I know, but I was literally skinning everything, and maybe he wasn't, but I felt like I had stacks of leather. I wasn't focusing on building armor or leather using now maybe once we get into the release and I want to start building armor for myself. Well, then great, right? But my main thing was mining, and I was doing it because I had a need for it, and I would have rather had those bonuses come from actually mining than from leveling up, than having to level up strength, right? Because that wasn't my focus in my combat area. So what's nice is you can like Slacker was saying, you can switch your armor set, to be more proficient for gathering when you're not going to fight something, but you're going to go gather. Switch your armor set. I like that idea, but you can't. I mean, it's going to be expensive to reset. You can, your attributes. I was going to say
reset
your
could.
Attributes. You probably don't want to just to go out mining, right?
Exactly.
That's probably not smart.
And there's no, as far as I'm aware, there's no alts, right? So you have one character. You can't make another character that just focuses on mining, right? Like you have one character. And if you want to be balanced in that character, you can't really get the maximum proficiency for mining if you're not going into strength. And that that to me is just a slight bummer. It's not a big deal, sure, right? It's not a huge deal.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a deal breaker, but it is sort of like, oh, man.
That's my one criticism
what you guys
in all
get
of this.
for going into dexterity. I mean, I went strength.
You just came up with the first criticism.
Tell you what,
and we jumped on it.
I'll mine for you, BigPapa, and then you can just pay me. Okay, I'll go out mining for you.
And maybe that's what they want.
I think so.
And maybe, to be fair, that could be they're like, hey, it's not like you get so many bonuses in dexterity. You should be the one, since I'm building dexterity, you should be the one harvesting all the pelts and leather and supply your guild with for a small fee, right? Like that's building the in-game economy and the player-driven economy. That would make okay. I'm fair with, or that's fair to me. I'm okay with that if that was the goal in mind. But if their goal is to allow the individual to maximize their proficiency in gathering, I think this was a bad idea. That specific aspect of it.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next time you're out and about and you're sitting on stacks and stacks of leather, dude, just go toss them in the company bank, and I'll take them. I'll return them.
Fair enough.
Oh, wait!
Oh, right. Another. Oh, that hurts.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. Again, I think that's a really cool system, and I think it's really underappreciated for what it is. And I'm going to be honest here. I get that we're doing a podcast on this, and we should be pretty knowledgeable about this game. I have not figured out what the heck luck does. Have we had that defined yet, what luck does?
Sometimes when you're mining a skin and you have a chance to get a rare item, sometimes it's like a charm. Sometimes it's a charm. Like I did get a rare, I think it was like a wolf's fang or something like that, and I forget exactly what I did, but you could use it in crafting to give you a specific perk or a better perk.
So it's just chance to get rare items.
Yeah, get some rare.
Oh,
rare
it's
items,
a chance to get those things I see.
Yeah, I don't know how the luck particularly scales it because it's done with points. Luck scales with points, right? The more luck points you have or whatever.
Yes. So if you eat salted roasted vegetables, you will increase your luck when mining by 2,000 points for 40 minutes.
Like a lot. So.
Oh, it also affects. So I just looked it up. It affects gear and item drops, but it also affects loot from containers. It doesn't affect gathering
so not
resources
just gathering.
gathered. Well, it doesn't affect gathered resources specifically, but like the chance to get rare items or have them
rare
dropped,
items, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, there's an entire different stat
Okay.
for.
By the way, I
gathered.
also confirmed that the proficiency potions are made in the workshop and not in the Arcana.
Wow.
So
slacker.
that doesn't really make sense to me, but that's what it is.
Okay, I still stand by my statement though that I need to get better at potions. Period.
Yeah.
I do too.
Do we know what a weak proficiency booster, like what is that? What are the ingredients for that? Do we know that? Has that been written down anywhere?
I'm sure it's been written down somewhere. But...
It would be really great if I could open up the game and check.
Or I'm sure it's on a Wikipedia somewhere online, Slacker. You can go look it up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna chat here for just a minute before we move on to our next topic of Tales from Aeternum. And when we were doing the closed beta, BigPapa and I actually got an opportunity to do the Amrine excavation. And this is the dungeon of it all. This is the adventures, and I only done it once. And BigPapa, you did it a couple times, didn't you?
Yeah, I did it I want to say 3 or 4 times, maybe 5.
So it was good. I thought it was really fun. I liked that. I felt like 15 minutes in, I was like, oh gosh, I should have brought more arrows and more food and more, like, it was nice. So when you log on for a raid night, right, you're typically like, okay, I got to go buy some food. I got to get my flasks. I get ready to go. If I get online, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do some dungeons. I'm like, I'll just queue up and away I go. I like that when we stepped into that dungeon, that experience, I had to stop myself and be like, I should have prepared for this. I should have gotten ready to come in. I thought it was really fun on the inside. It had lots of cool places and corners and stuff to get around to. I was a little bit bummed about how, I guess this is more of a review than it is a tale, but some of the chests had such consistent placement that the group I was with knew, like, okay, now we're going to backtrack a little bit here, get this chest. Okay, now we're going to drop down this waterfall and grab this chest. Okay, now we're going to come back up and around this way. And none of it is shared. It's not shared loot, right? So it was kind of whoever was first to the chest got the chest, if I remember correctly.
No, you get to pick up the chest too. Anyway,
did we? Because I feel like there were some things that people were looting. It's like, oh, you got that.
What you're thinking of is the resource nodes that, like any mining, like silver.
That's what it is.
Yeah, any
that
silver nodes. Chests were.
Yeah, they
shared,
got to them first. So if you're really familiar with the excavations, you're going to be able to. Sorry, the expeditions. If you're really knowledgeable with them, you'll be able to grab all those resources, no problem.
Yeah, but if
I
you
kind of wasn't a huge fan.
If you go with a group that's willing to share, then right, spread the
Right,
loot, then
right.
that's not going to be a problem.
But overall, I really enjoyed it. I thought the boss fight was pretty fun. I liked the 2 weapon system. Again, just because it was, once I ran out of arrows, I was hitting things with my spear. I felt like that extended fight was good. I thought it was great. The challenges and like little puzzles were cool, but not challenging enough for me to be like, okay, guys, we got to stop, figure this out. I can't figure. How do we do
you
this?
could argue that they were gimmicky because they were pretty simple. It was just like, okay, we got to do this.
They were kind of gimmicky.
Yeah.
Now, I actually really like puzzles that actually punish you. So if someone gets it wrong, then it like drops another group of mobs or whatever the case may be. Where it's like, guys, we got to get this right this time or else we're definitely going to wipe. I've always enjoyed those ones, but these ones felt a little bit of, okay, you stand here, I stand here, and bada bing, bada boom,
Right.
the bridge falls.
Well, and not to be too on the flip side of that, they may be gimmicky, but they do bring you into the feel of the game, right?
Yes,
the setting.
it draws you
it's
into
like,
the
this is like Indiana
Yeah,
Jones.
yeah.
This feels kind of cool. But the puzzles in the end were not very difficult.
Yep, I agree. That's fair. But overall, it was a great experience, and I got good loot out of it, and that was fun, and it was a good dungeon. So I remember us talking about in earlier episodes. We said, are expeditions tacked on, or are they kind of just like thrown in there? And they are. They kind of are. This game wasn't designed to be a PvE game, but it works. It's fun. I enjoy it. If you say, hey, you want to go do an expedition? I'd be like, yeah, let me go grab some potions and some arrows, and let's go do this thing. It's definitely something I want to go back to. So I thought it was great. Real good.
Yeah, I had a fun time with it too. I just enjoy the combat and the big boss at the end of the Amrine excavation or the excavation expedition was fun. It was there was definitely some mechanics that you had to get used to. I think the first time we did it I did it with a 3-man group and we all died. But then we did it. We figured it out right away and went back in and did it a second time and succeeded, no problem that second time. So it was fun to have just a few different dynamics and what you had to fight. Whoever the boss was focusing had to do a ton of kiting. But then everyone else is chasing around hitting the boss, and then there was these side these mobs that he would summon, and whoever was focused by them would have to do some kiting. But it was fun. It was a good time.
I love the fact that you did it with 3 people.
Yeah,
that's awesung.
Yeah, you could do. Isn't it 3 to 5 people? I think is what.
Yeah.
It was fun.
In fact, I almost want to. Are you gonna get more rewards? I guess you're just gonna get more crafting stuff. Well, and you're gonna get more XP for more stuff, more kills. But I would love to have done that with 3 people instead of 5.
I couldn't tell if it scaled because I only did the 3-person one twice, maybe.
Oh, maybe it does scale.
I wonder if it scales as far as difficulty goes. I don't think it does though. Just based off my memory of it. And so you could argue that if you want to get more runs in, then go with 5,
Right.
But I can't remember if there were more mobs when we went in with more people. I can't remember.
It was good. I think they did a great job. I think they crushed it. Ruko, did you get a chance to do the expedition?
No. Beta came out, and then I went on vacation like the next day, and so I got to play
Rookie
for like a day and a half.
That's
I did
right.
try playing it in the car while I drove for a little while, but that didn't work out so well.
I mean, you could have expected that.
Well, it worked okay. I could do some mining and stuff, but I'm literally have a laptop and I'm hotspotting off my phone to try and play New World while I'm in the car. It doesn't work real well.
That didn't work? You sure?
No. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Huh.
I'm surprised you don't get car sick, dude. That would have killed me. I
don't get car sick at all. It's fine.
At all? Are you kidding me?
No, none.
My wife looks at her phone and she's like, "I'm out."
Yeah, you guys are weak blooded. Okay?
I will admit it.
Okay.
I am weak when it comes to motion sickness. You know what's funny? I could do any roller coaster. I've never had issues with that. But when I get in the car, if I'm not driving it, or if I'm I can do it if I'm in the front seat at least. But if I get in the car, it just the back seat just kills me. I don't know what it is.
Next time we hang out, I'm putting you in the back seat. Just to... Sorry, dude. I got stuff in the front seat. I don't know what to tell you. You can sit back there.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're
what do you
the
do
one
when
who's
you
gonna
Uber?
get
Do you Uber at all?
So.
No,
do you sit in the front seat when you Uber?
I've never Ubered.
You've never Ubered?
No, I don't think so.
No, neither have I.
Oh, guys,
Oh,
catch up.
oh, I gotta experience
It's
it.
expensive, man. Why would I pay someone to drive me somewhere if I can just drive there myself in
Or
my own
walk.
car? I don't know.
Like to the
Or-
airport?
Yeah,
Or
I just
walk,
go.
you're gonna-
I park my
All
car
right.
at the airport. It probably
Okay.
costs me less. Okay,
It doesn't. I assure you, it does
I
not.
paid $60 to park my car for a week and a half at the airport while I was gone. Okay,
It costs you like
that-
$10 to get a ride to the airport.
not from where I live, dude. I live like 50 minutes away from the airport.
Okay, well, see, that's your own problem.
That's
Okay.
it. Hence why I'm driving
We're
to
gonna
the
get
airport.
back on topic now. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our big opinion segment, and this is one we've kind of been saving for a while, and we're excited to talk about it. So we want to talk about the meta game, and just to clearly define what meta is. Meta is understanding how to play the game from outside the game and not within the game. So, for example, let's say you're playing World of Warcraft and you're playing a fire mage, and you say, what's the best way to play a fire mage? What are the best talents to take? What's the best this to take? What's the best that to take? And you go online, you see what the pros are doing. You're like, great, I'm going to do that build, and I'm going to load it in. Do. So you put those talents in, you go, and now suddenly you're the best fire mage because you're doing you're playing the meta. Another example of this is when you go and you play like Magic the Gathering, or you play a deck builder kind of a game. They have a term for it called net decking, where you just say, oh, hey, here's a list of cards that someone posted, say, hey, this deck won the last tournament. You can go collect those cards, and suddenly you're going to be the greatest player of all time. And that theme of being able to metagame, I think, really is something that's more recent than it is for other things. Sure, there were my earliest meta that I can think of personally is in StarCraft 2 when I used to play that competitively, and certainly there were some specific build orders or strategies that you would kind of copy from pros to execute that would give you an edge on it, and you're kind of metagaming at that point. You're seeing what kind of build they're doing that the pros do and seeing if you can't counter that in the meantime. Ruko, though, has some specific thoughts on this. Why don't you get started and sharing with us what your opinion here is on meta?
Man, okay, and I'll try not to go on a giant rant here, but I've had to deal with metagame in World of Warcraft for a really long time just because I'm a raid leader in the game, and when you're a raid leader or even part of a raid team, you expect a certain amount of progression from that group. You have a certain amount of goals, and a lot of times you are spending time trying to work out what's the best way to do something within the game so that you can be most efficient at it. That being said, what annoys me to no end is when people think they have a way they like to do something and they think it's the only way, right? And I even experienced this just this week. I had somebody in my guild tell me, oh, well, we killed this boss a different way in my old guild. I don't think the way you're doing it works. And then we proceed to kill the boss the way that I have strategized and laid out. And it's just sometimes it's a lack of experience. Specifically in MMOs, what ends up happening is people will create simulators for their characters, right? They'll input all the values and they'll put in the rotation, and the computer will try different combinations and simulate how a build or a rotation is supposed to go and output what's the best way to do this, right? And they'll even do that with the gear and the stats on your gear and things like that. And so people end up getting these simulations for the game. But the biggest problem that ends up happening is people see these simulations and they are accurate. They are incredibly accurate, and they think this is definitely how you have to play the game. Okay, and there's two reasons why this doesn't work out very well. A lot of these simulations are based around people playing the game absolutely perfectly. Very, very few players can play at that type of level, right?
Right. The computer can even generate.
Exactly.
For them.
Right.
Yeah.
There are very few players. I mean, the top guilds in the world can play at this level. Most people can't. Even if you're a really good player, you're probably not making these micro decisions that or for forming your rotation perfectly in order to get these kinds of numbers that are being simulated. The other issue that crops up is these simulations are based off of, you're basically just standing still and hitting something without ever having to move, without having to deal with mechanics within a fight, without some of these downtimes, and sometimes these simulations end up recommending builds or rotations or talents that are really difficult to just use in general. And what happens is, again, people will see either what the top players are doing or what these simulators are saying they should do, and they try to emulate it, and they just can't. And it's not because it honestly is. It's because they're not good enough, and I'm not good enough. I'm going to openly admit I'm not good enough to do what some of these top players do, and that's okay.
Sure.
But people take these metas that get defined by these simulations and what the very top end of players do, and then they say, this is how you have to play. Now, it's fine if you want to go out and you want to min-max things. That's a totally fine way to play. But a lot of these fights and encounters and things that you end up within a PvE environment are not tuned in such a way that you have to min-max to the degree that these top 1% of players are doing. Right? You can get away with using a different talent and still do a competitive amount of damage. You can get away with doing a different strategy and still be successful and kill a boss. But I see it on the forums, and I see it from players all the time who tell me you have to do this certain way or it doesn't work. And that has never ever been the case. There's lots of ways to do things, and there's lots of ways to kind of break this mold of the meta. You don't have to play the meta to be a good player or to be successful within the video game. And I don't like the stereotype that you have to, or people prescribe that you have to play this particular way in order to be successful. It just annoys me to no end. And I'll try and take a break here.
So
that
yeah, I'll jump in just to clarify something here. So it sounds like your main criticism here is the attitude people have when it comes to the defined meta, whatever that may be.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not so much, and people are right. People have mathematically figured out this stuff. Like they're not wrong about it, necessarily. But they take this attitude and take this information and say, it's the only way to play, right? And that's fine. If that's how you want to play, that's fine. But it's just axiomatically wrong to say it is the only way to play the game or the only way to be successful within a game.
Right. Skill obviously comes into account. There's a lot of other things that come into account.
Well,
how do you? I was just going to say, how, no matter what kind of, if you're going to make a PvP game or any kind of game really, but there's options, right? There's a variety of choices with how you can build your character or what play style you could bring to the table. There's going to be a meta, right? Some people are going to be able to look at the game and see what the best mechanics are, and so what you should push for in your builds. How do we? Because I'm the kind of person where it's like I want to see variety in the game. And so my biggest critique for metas is that it seems when metas evolve, that's what everyone plays, and I want to see variety, right? So how do you create a game, or how do you encourage variety in the way the players are playing, or discourage one overriding meta? How do you do that?
This reminds me of when I used to run a game store back in Utah, and they'd play Magic the Gathering competitively all the time, right? And every now and then a specific deck arc would come out, and people were like, "This is the way to go." And you'd see maybe 2 or 3 decks total, different types of decks total, in the tournament of 30, 40 players. And I remember there was this one particular guy, and he had an unlimited income, or I can't remember. He had plenty of money to spend, and he loved to spend it on Magic the Gathering. And he would build decks specifically designed to counter the most popular meta deck, because those metas exist only, like Ruko was saying, they exist in a computer simulation. They exist in a closed environment. And when you take them out of that closed environment, they're not nearly as viable as they used to be. But my issue that I have, especially when it comes into MMOs, is the attitude. And it's not the attitude of the people who are saying, because I'm not going to lie, I've gotten on Icy Veins before and be like, ugh, is this talent or that talent better? Which one should I take? These are pretty marginal for me. And there's certainly times when I've been like, Icy Veins is telling me to take this one. I'm going to choose that one because it's a passive effect and I don't want to have to push another button on my keyboard. But you can get, in trouble is the wrong word, but you can get criticized for your playstyle if you're not playing what is meta. So it's really a double-edged sword, and it's really unfortunate, the position that we find ourselves in.
Well, and you're not wrong. See, I go out and I do my research with my own class, and I look at what talents are supposed to be doing the best, and that's all well and good. I mean, that is something you need to do when you try to raid at the highest level, right? You do want to try and put a little bit of min-maxing into it. But like you said, you had to choose between picking a talent that was just going to be passive and give you more damage versus a talent where you're going to have to hit a new button in order to do something. Well, a lot of times, one is obviously going to be better than the other. Usually the active button one is going to be better than the passive one. Usually. But in a lot of cases, that passive talent is not very far behind in terms of damage than this active one. And what gets perpetrated is, okay, well, this active talent has a 1% theoretical damage increase if you use it perfectly. But if you don't use it perfectly, then the passive talent is going to be the same or better in a lot of cases. And people just don't realize that. If you can't play, with this active talent or don't want to play with this active talent, you can still a lot of times do just as well with the passive talent. And that's okay. As long, like with my raid group specifically, what I tell people is, you can pick whatever talents you want, but you got to be pulling the damage numbers that we need to kill this boss. And if you can't, that's just what it is. It's
inevitable.
I wouldn't even.
That attitude is inevitable because you have to build a certain way in order to do the best damage you can. You got to build the right build or one of maybe 3 builds, right, to do that damage, right? Like, so
kind of, not necessarily, and that's what people think, though. People think they have to get pigeonholed into one of these 3 types of builds. They usually don't. If somebody has played a class long enough and is familiar with the buttons, and knows when they can and can't move, and literally their rotation is just second nature, they can almost take any talent arrangement and play that class well enough to do the damage. People want to believe that their talent choices are going to automatically make them a better player. Really, it comes down to the player's skill. You can be a player who knows the class in and out and pick bad talents and perform better than the players who don't know the class well and pick the meta talents. Okay,
fair enough.
You can pick
and that's good. That's a
class.
good thing.
Yeah.
If a game design allows for skill to shine through, right? I mean, that's what you want instead of
it can't. But there is a catch, right? And the catch is you have to be a lot better, right, to play with these worse talents in order to make up the damage you might get from these other ones, right? So there is a catch. Usually the other thing with simulations and stuff, especially in a PvE game, is I tell people, okay, simulations are great, but go out and look at the actual logs that people are adding to this website. We have a website called Warcraft Logs where people record all of the information from their boss kill, every spell they cast, what order they cast it in, every movement they made, the gear they were wearing, the talents they were using. All of this information gets recorded, and you can actually go look and see, well, in reality, what is actually performing the best versus what's actually performing the best in a simulation. And a lot of times those two do not line up. What performs well in a simulation doesn't always perform well on a boss fight because you have, all these other variables you have to deal with in an actual boss fight. So I tell people, go look at the logs, see what's actually being done and versus what people are telling you should be done.
Okay.
We're dealing with theoretical versus what's real and right in front of you and the data you actually do have.
No, but
Right.
but there are cases too where some like you might have two options for an ability or a couple options, and one is just the flat out best option for what role you're playing. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Right. I mean, sometimes you get talents that are like, okay, well, this talent is clearly only going to be good if I'm fighting one target, and this talent is really only going to be good if I'm fighting multiple targets, right? And so if you're taking the talent that, for multiple targets on a single target boss, you're not going to be doing as much as you could, right? That's not a good optimization. But I know, at least within World of Warcraft, a lot of times you're choosing between one, AoE talent versus another AoE talent versus a third AoE talent. And depending on the situation, or depending on how you're using it, or whether or not you can play it effectively, a lot of times you can kind of have your pick with which one you want and still at least do enough damage to be viable within the game.
Like
right?
Devotion Aura versus Retribution Aura.
No, see, that's one. No, but no, honestly, I mean, yeah, that is an example, right? It's back in Classic, we gave you a hard time for running Retribution.
Yeah,
Aura
I'm a victim
right?
of this meta
You're a
attitude.
victim but the thing is, like, as long as you're not taking a lot of damage, you can run Retribution Aura. If you're taking too much damage, then putting on Devotion Aura helps, right? And it all comes down to experience and your gear and what are you comfortable with and what the healer maybe is comfortable with in that situation, right? One is clearly better for defensive purposes than the other.
Right. Yeah.
But you don't necessarily have to run it if you have, there's other circumstances that would allow you to be just fine.
So let me pivot this just a little bit. I think that we have some good news and we have some bad news here, right? When we're talking about this in the context of New World. The good news is that when it comes out for meta builds for individual characters, there are certainly going to be some builds that are like, this is the best build, or whatever the case may be. We're going to have a little bit of that for sure. But the reality of the matter is that your skill as a player is going to matter significantly more here in this context than it would in a tab targeting MMO. Just because you can learn a rotation far easier than you can learn your ability to aim, take shots, make skill shots, know when to move in, move out for specific abilities. So I think that's kind of an upside. I think where New World will struggle the most when it comes to the meta games is how to gain the system in large-scale combats. For example, when you're during a territory war and you're the attackers, I'm worried that there will evolve such a meta that everyone will only do this one way to fight the gate, and it's going to end up being something where, for example, like, everyone has to go buy a barrel, and everyone bum rushes the left gate and drops their barrel, and then everyone backs off, and once it explodes, everybody moves in.
Everyone bring a great axe and a Warhammer, and that's it.
Has to be a great, exactly, because that
would be frightening.
Warhammers are the same.
To see like an army coming over the hill and all they have is Warhammers and great axes. I mean, that would be a little scary.
Okay,
all that
That'd be
season.
So I saw this
New World
clip
is going to
during
be
the beta.
subject to that.
Yeah, well, I saw this clip during the beta. This group of people were hiding in the woods all with ice gauntlets, and this enemy troop was coming down. And the second they got within range, you see like 15 people with ice gauntlets put down their AoE ice circle, right?
Gosh.
And you just watch this entire enemy force get obliterated by it, right? It's hilarious and it's awesome.
It's like when we lined up as a death squad on the other side of the door waiting for someone to come through.
Like muskets. Yeah, right.
We were like, get ready! We're going to kill whoever comes through.
So, to be fair, though, PvP metas often are a lot different than PvE metas. And you already mentioned this, like with the Magic the Gathering guy who would literally build decks to just counter what was ever popular at the time. Like, there's a lot more options in PvP to counter your opponent or to think around your opponent. And a lot more flexibility. PvE is very predictable, right? PvP, you've got to anticipate what your opponent's going to be using, and that does a lot of times open up a lot more options. Now, it doesn't mean
that's
some
true.
things aren't.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there'll be definitely things that are going to seem better, at least on the weapons so far, that are better for PvP than PvE, and that's okay.
Right, and better talents within each weapon tree, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I still think, though, at least with the way New World is set up, I think more skilled players, even if they take not particularly great PvP talents, could still kill you pretty easily without those talents.
I think it's still the system itself lends itself the way to be able to explore your own creativity within the builds. I feel like when you're playing other MMOs, sometimes you kind of, if you picked Paladin, you're going to be a tank, you get pigeonholed very specifically into the way that you need to play that class in order to be successful. Are there variations on that? Sure, but as a whole, there's a specific way that an ice mage plays, and there's a specific way that a fire mage plays, and that's just the way it is. But within New World, it's like, am I going to pair a bow, or am I going to pair the hatchet with my spear? I feel like I've got more meaningful decisions in creating a class and creating a playstyle that's more unique to me. And certainly there are just more combinations of weapons and playstyles that are going to be out there, that it'll be very interesting to come up against someone and see that, hey, he's got a warhammer and a hatchet. What the heck is going on there? What's he going to do? You know, maybe you're going to be like, this guy's an idiot. Like, who's going to pair a warhammer and a hatchet? But at the same time, maybe he's figured something out, or he likes to play that way. And I think that the game does a good job giving you the benefit of the doubt and allowing you to have that little bit of freedom of expression without too much scrutiny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, somebody is probably gonna, the first week do a recording where they just absolutely pwn somebody with, or a group of people with a weapon combination, right? And suddenly people are gonna be like, this is the meta. Everyone's gonna do it, right? Yeah, this is the meta. But that's okay, because I think what people will naturally do is try to figure out how to counter that. Or there's going to be these stealth builds they're going to go under the radar for a long time that people are going to use, and people will say, oh, this person's trash, but they're actually going to do really well with whatever their weapon combinations. And you see that in a lot of PvP games. League of Legends has this happen all the time, where characters get designed for a particular role, and then suddenly, this character gets used in this other role somewhere else on the map that is people didn't think about, and it's just absolutely outperforming what it should be, right? And sometimes things like that are in the game for years before people discover it. And I think with the variety of options people are going to have weapons, it's going to be really interesting to see how people play around different weapon combinations or come up with their own to counter certain weapon combinations. So I'm not real worried, I guess, about a particular meta evolving within New World, at least not right now. I think there's going to be enough options between the weapons that you could counter a particular meta if one crops up, or you can kind of just play with what you want and still be relatively successful. And I honestly, I think people who are more comfortable with their weapons are going to just do better in general than people who are trying to meta swap and try and learn a new weapon. I mean, if you're really good with the Warhammer and somebody is just swapped to the Rapier because they heard it was really good, you're probably going to trounce that player with the Rapier because they're probably not going to be very good with it. Right. Right. And that's just how things go.
I would, in our position, here we have a podcast and we get a bunch of people who listen to us. So from this platform, allow me to say, if you will, that I hope people will take this opportunity with this new game to explore their own creativity in making builds. And if people do try specific builds, let them do what they're going to do. I think this game is giving us a fresh chance to kind of do what we want to do and have the game play out the way we want to play it out. And I think we're kind of at a molding opportunity, right? We've got a good game that has a great system in place for people to really create a character that's their character, that they play the way they want to play, and I'm excited to be a part of that world and that community.
I agree. Explore your options. I want more variety. I want people to play what they have fun with, whether it's good or not.
Yeah.
And that's I think New World gives a good amount of opportunities to for every potential play style to shine. And like Ruko said, ultimately in this kind of game, in this kind of combat system where it's not tab targeting, skill is even more important. And so I only ever played rapier and musket, and I got pretty good with them. I enjoy them, and if I ever got bored with them, it's going to be fun to switch to one of the other 12 weapons that are out there, or 10 weapons. I can't remember, but there's a lot of options, and I like that, and I like
and that's
that
just at launch.
Skill is going to be important here.
Yeah, and those weapons are just what there's at launch. So suddenly there's a greatsword that comes in, or suddenly there's what's that weapon?
A pistol.
Like
I heard
a pistol
might be coming in. Yeah.
Oh,
that'd be cool.
That's cool. I dig that.
I would love to see like a Japanese update or something, or like a
samurai long
like feudal Japan. We deal with stuff like that. Yeah, and you have samurai, katanas, and maybe you could have a whole new bow, because they had like a much a different long bow than classic England did.
Gatling gun.
There's a lot of options there. Or Gatling. They already have Gatling guns.
Yeah, they already do. You can't hold them as your own weapon.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right?
No, I'm just kidding. No. A life pistol. A life pistol. How about that? A life. We already have a life staff. A life pistol.
A life pistol.
You shoot your friends to heal them.
I don't know. We need another health option or healing option, though.
Yeah,
we do. We do need another healing, and I'm curious, like what would be another logical like heal support?
You know what?
A shield. Kind of thing that fits
a shield, and it's like a magical shield, and then your spells are all protective rather than healing. That would be cool, in my opinion. Something
I
like
love that idea.
Yeah.
All right, next episode we're going to be talking about development, and we're going to come up with a bunch of new ideas for them and submit it off to New World and say, hey, here's a bunch of ideas, go implement them.
I've always wanted to play a dual shield spec. Okay, I've always thought that would be fun. I've seen some enemies in in World of Warcraft, there were some enemies that just had 2 shields and would just wail on people, and it looked so cool. Like, I would love to do that.
That's cool.
I think it'd be really great if you had a game that let a buckler behave differently than a tower shield. Yeah. Like if you're like you have sword and shield in the game, but then like BigPapa, you're talking about having a shield-based protective support item, but it's a tower shield, and not like a Reinhardt shield, but a proper tower shield to get in there. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah, you're thinking like a Roman centurion shield or whatever they're called.
Yes, absolutely.
As opposed to an Avenger Captain America shield.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of that shield as well, but I like the variety. It's a great.
Ruko's talking about 2 of those suckers. I mean, 2 of those suckers.
I'm talking about 2 tower shields.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he's talking about. Yeah,
2 tower shields, and you're like wailing on people with these tower shields. They have like sharp ends and stuff, and you can swing them around to hit things. Yeah, you could put chains on and like lash the chains out at people. That'd be sweet.
Or how about just chains? Just a chain. Here we go. How many weapons can we think of?
A chain or a whip?
Oh, like yeah.
How about
a whip?
Can we get a grappling hook?
That would be cool. A grappling hook? Yeah. All right. Well, we're making a wish list.
All right, New World developers, Amazon.
Here we go.
You guys listening at home, feel free to let us know your ideas. We'll add it to our proposals in the middle.
Absolutely. An open letter. Here's what we want. Next expansion. We'll design it for you because we're so excited.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning into our episode today. We always love putting these together. Look forward to our next episode. We're going to be talking next time about builds 2.0. We did a build a while ago, and now we're going to be returning back to it and talking about the different weapons. Zach segues really nicely into what we're going to be talking about next week. So if you're listening to this in the future and you're just going through these will gel really well together. But we'll talk about now that we've actually played the closed beta, how are the weapons different? What do we think about them now? What do we think about the different talents? What was useful? What wasn't useful? So join us next time. You can be a part of the conversation by following us at Aeternum_radio on Twitter, or by joining our Discord server, which will be in the description of this podcast. And if you want to play with us, when we jump into New World, you want to be a part of the voting for which faction we're a part of, what servers we go to, you can do so through our Discord system, and you can find our in-game company and play with us. Anything else you guys want to add to today's episode before we sign off?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sorry for my rant on the meta.
No, it wasn't.
You're gonna have to give us the rant again next episode.
Okay.
right before we start talking about our builds, being like, "This is the new meta." And
There we
everyone
go.
has to
Yeah,
play
yeah.
this.
Everyone. I'll explain to you exactly why BigPapa's builds is going to be bad. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a
Perfect.
problem with that.
Oh, I have some comments on my build
Excellent.
because I did play the build I wanted to play, and so it'll be interesting to reapproach it.
Did you play exactly what you built?
Yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure I didn't get all the way through the talent tree because it took way longer than I expected, which is a good thing in my opinion.
Sure.
But
Yes,
yeah,
I
I
agree.
was building the build that I had planned on.
Cool.
As far as last thing I'll say is just, I apologize if there were any babies crying in the background. There may have been while I was talking. So
Yeah, you
don't
got a
worry,
couple
don't
extra
worry.
since last time. So.
yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys all next week. Goodbye from me, Slacker, and from BigPapa
See you later.
and Ruko.
Bye, everyone.
We'll see y'all next week. Y'all take care.